Hey everyone, I'm here. I was asked to show a video of how I did a keychain with UV resin. I love counterculture DIY. That's the clear. Here's the black that I use. And so for this is the mold. It's kind of hard to see because no color, but it's a UV mold from Hobby Lobby. It already has the letters, it has them backwards, so we're going to be building it backwards. Really simple. Gathered a few tools to begin with. My Counterculture CC DIY tool to help with our mica powders. I got these on Amazon. They are silicone on this side, little metal knobs on this side. Super helpful, especially working with these tiny molds and so forth. So gonna kind of show what I did. Pretty simple, few little cups here just to work with because it doesn't take much resin. And then of course have to have our UV light. So got everything ready. I take a little bit of the resin. This jar had glitter in it last, but I'm not really worried about it because you're not going to get much. Anyway, you're going to just pour a very small amount. I'm actually going to make a keychain for myself for this tutorial. So I chose the mica powder. This is Galactic Grape. It is from Counterculture DIY. And it really doesn't take much. I'm actually going to do even a little less than that because it's not going to take a ton to color this little bit that we're doing. And then just take one of my little tools and mix that in with the little bit that we had, and it's just going to shimmer that up. Be really beautiful. And you can see it doesn't take much, just a little bit. And then the fun tricky part is that we do want a very small tip to go into the letter. So my name is Rebecca. I go off of Beck's Creations though a lot of times, but I'm going to do the R just because I'll use this keychain for me. So little tip silicone here, and it doesn't take much to fill these little itty bitty spots. So you're just going to want to fill in. You don't want a lot of drips because if you get too drippy, you're going to make a big mess and you're going to get out of this little crevice that the letter is in. So nice and easy. If I get a little too much, I just wipe it back into my jar. Always can make if you make a mistake, you can always fix it. It's always fixable. You just got to get a little creative when you're doing your fixes and so forth. So, but trust me, I make plenty of mistakes as I go along. And then I'm just kind of filling in, making sure that that's nice and full. Make sure that I didn't miss anywhere. Did fill it with good color. I like to, with one of my small knobs, go ahead and just go around the edges and bring up any little bubbles that might have gotten trapped, especially in these really tight crevices. They like to hide in those. So, and this is just a teeny knob and so forth. And then honestly, the best way with my tools, paper towel, they're my best friend. I keep them. You'll notice I'm not wearing gloves for this. With UV resin, I find that I don't get messy enough to really need them. So I don't use them because I don't need them. But you could definitely use gloves if you felt you needed to. And then we're going to put that under there. I stick it under for 60 seconds because that just ensures that it did cure fully and so forth. You'll see even with that little bit that I used, I've got some left over. I'm a big no waster though, so I will, after this video, go ahead and use that for another project. I'll probably do another keychain or something, so can't waste anything. If you get resin that's like sticking to the silicone, I use some alcohol, just rubbing alcohol on my paper towel, wipe it off. It's no big deal. I go through tons of paper towels and so forth. That's probably the biggest thing that I waste in my craft space is paper towels, because you need them all the time. Then once this finishes curing, we will add another layer, and you want to decide what you want on the layer. So you can now see there is the R. Of course, that's upside down because we are working backwards. Here's the underside. It's looking pretty good. I don't think I got any bubbles in it, which is nice. So now it's just to decide like what we want on there. Do we want some color? Do we want glitter? Do you want some kind of art or something? I'm going to use just a little bit of resin. It's not going to take much, just like little dabs in these spaces, because I am going to add some little flowers. These are also from Hobby Lobby. I got them in the UV section and they work fantastic. I normally have some little tweezers in the area, but I didn't grab my tweezers, so we're just going to wing it. And they're pretty tiny, but, and I'm not getting my finger in the UV resin. I'm just, honestly, just dropping that little flower in there. I'm going to do 3 purple. I didn't go in with a plan on this, so like I said, sometimes I plan extensively for a project, and sometimes I just roll whatever comes in that moment. I dumped all those out, that's fine. So that's this project. I'm just going with it. And then I'll pick those up more later. I also really like these little pink ones here. So no rhyme or reason with my placement of these. Again, these were bought at Hobby Lobby. They are in the UV section. Hobby Lobby does have a really good UV art section that I like to catch when they have sales. I try to never pay full price, so always catch them when they have a sale. I'm just moving these into a dab of that UV resin and so forth, so that these will stay where we want them to. Not that I have them in any special way, just don't want them moving once we place them. So with those in, I'm going to go ahead and put this on for a few more seconds. And then, like I said, since I am just full on winging this one, I am going to see what else I want. I have all kinds of glitters and things. And actually, I know the glitter I want. It's a matter if I can find it. I really like this Denim Dazzle. This is by Counterculture as well. I transfer all my glitters and my micas. I don't like them in the bags, so I just find it's not easy to work with. So I've moved it into containers, as you saw. I always take my label though, and that way I know who it's by, where it came from, so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and start prepping this. I'm going to use my same cup. It's again not going to take much, and it's not going to take much of this glitter either. So just a little bit, put in there. I'm going to actually mix it just with the knob here, just so that it gets around that glitter. Nice and pretty. So you can see. And then our purple is trying to run into the glitter, but we'll keep them separated. And then I'm just going to start laying this in here. The biggest thing to know with UV resin, and this has been kind of one of my learning things, is that when you're working with UV resin, you need the UV light to be able to see through to cure. And if you don't give it room to look through, that then it cannot go ahead and cure. So with the black, definitely do not want, oh, that little flower decided he would move. I don't think I had anything under him. With the black resin, you do not really want to add anything to it, just because it will make it to where you can't see through it, or it can't, it's not so much see through it, but the UV light can't transmit through it. So hopefully that glitter is not too thick. And I did a really thin layer of it because I didn't want to do a thick layer, because I do want it to cure. Every time I do 60 seconds each layer, just to ensure that it's getting a full cure and so forth. I think that I'm going to prep a little bit more of this, and I'm going to go ahead and clean off my tool. I also have this is Bora Bora mica powder. Is so pretty. Again, counterculture DIY. I love all their products. Definitely a little obsession of mine, and I use them for a lot, not just my UV projects. I use it for coasters and all kinds of things. I've got, what you can't see on my desk is I have a zillion other projects happening. So it's kind of messy. I cleared off a space so that I could do this. So here's that Bora Bora. It is just gorgeous. I just love Bora Bora. It's one of my faves. So again, and this looks super messy, y'all, but I promise it's gonna work out just fine. And again, I'm just gonna do a thin layer of this so that it can cure, just because it is filled with a lot of color and so forth. One thing it's a nice feature of this mold, but I don't love, because it's given me some issues, is the ring around it here. I'm going to have to really make sure I get some resin in there, and around the keychain part here, the little hole part. It's hard to get resin of any kind down in little tight spots like that. And so just nice thin layer going on. Pop that back under the light. And then probably what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a little bit more clear in this. I'm not going to add any more color to it at this point. I'm just going to use the color that's already in there. It's going to be very iridescent, but that's okay. I'm not worried because it's not going to be the back color. And so it's not going to matter what color is this next layer. This is just more to get us another layer in there. And I'll probably use a little bit of that purple I have too to try to get in that crack and divot. Super important to let this go for the 60 seconds, just because we are using a mica powder in with the UV resin. A lot of times people will use alcohol ink in the UV resin just because it does have an easier ability for light to go through. You could absolutely do that. It's not, you know, nothing against that. You're just going to get more of that iridescent kind of look. And I obviously don't mind that, but I love, mica powders are one of my favorites. I mean, I love alcohol inks too, and they have their purpose for sure, but I like the keychains, at least the ones I've done so far. I like that they have a more solid, just because of what I've put in them. You can put dried flowers. I've done that. If anybody saw the, and I'll post with this video, but there's a picture of some that I had already done that are for the hospice team that was involved with my mom. And just so you know, here in Kentucky where I live, hospice is hospice. They just are rebranding, and so they call themselves hospice. So I do mix those words back and forth, and some people are like, well, what's hospice? Is it different? And I'm like, no, it's the same. But I made them some keychains as part of a thank you bag that I did for them. And so I'll post that picture of those as well to show more than just one done, basically. But those I used a combination of the dry flowers and these clay flowers that I had gotten at Hobby Lobby. So again, I'm not super concerned about this layer. It's probably going to be pretty well hidden, so I'm not concerned about the design on it. It's more than anything just getting some resin in there to fill it. And there, we used most of our purple up, which is awesome. So we're not being wasteful. And then, let's see how that cures. I might clean these out just a little bit more and then fill with a little clear and then cure that and then put a layer of black on there so that it is all pretty and so forth. Let's see, the longest 60 seconds is when you're waiting for something like this to cure. And so forth. I have a hard time being patient. So you'll see, like, I start kind of cleaning up stuff because I can't just sit still. I a lot of times am doing more than one project because of that, which can actually turn into a little bit of a nightmare when you do that, when you're working on more than one at one time, because resin, of course, only gives you so much time to work with it. Oh yeah, this is looking good. So that's pretty well done. I'm going to clean up. It's amazing how much resin you leave in your little cups. These silicone cups are some of my favorites. I'll clean them with a paper towel and some rubbing alcohol, and that's phenomenal. And when I pop this out of here, I'll clean up the edges. I'm not super worried that I'm like rubbing against the edge and creating this crazy edge on it. I'm going to just go ahead and add some clear just right on into it. Thing is, with me adding so much, I just want to make sure that I move it around, let it kind of get flat, because otherwise you'll dome it before you want a dome. And I don't want a dome just yet. So that seems really good. And I want to make sure that I actually like this back the way it is. I might not put black UV resin in it because it looks really good. But you want to make sure that you don't have any like crazy bubbles. UV resin's really good though. Like, I don't usually have a lot of bubbles with it. The biggest thing is in your mold you can trap a bubble, and that's what I run into the most. Other than that, I don't really have any trouble. That might be our last layer just because it was pretty full. I thought we might have to do another one, especially if I was going to add black to it, but I'm really liking the way the purple and the teal just swirled on its own, and I kind of don't want to mess with that. It's one of those pretty accidents. So I throw those flowers around, just to clean them up while we're waiting for that to cure. That should be about done. If you ever want your I don't know about other UV lights. This is the only UV light I've ever used. But with this one, if you ever need more, which when I made my mistake with the black resin and adding a black mica powder to it, it did not want to cure at all. Like, at all. I learned that the hard way. You can, I'm going to put just a little bit more, and then I'll show you how to make your UV light go a little bit longer if you need it to. And so forth. And when I did that with the UV resin with the black, and I mixed this beautiful like chameleon black mica into it, it was very beautiful, not gonna lie, but it was a pain to cure, and I thought I was gonna have to trash 4 keychains, but luckily somehow I persevered and made it through that hiccup. So if you want it to go longer, you just press it and hold it. Both lights are going to come on, and it will go for more than 60 seconds. So I'll just have to guess on this round since I did that, but it's not a big deal. I've never sat and timed it. A lot of times when I was doing that with the black ones that I almost messed up, I honestly would just, I went and did other things. So I was like, oh, I can't sit here and wait. But I just poured a little bit of alcohol on that, rubbing alcohol, and then I just go in a circle inside of it, and then it gathers most of that. And I'll go with one more like cleaner one here in a minute and get up any straggling UV resin. But as you can see, for the most part, that's pretty clean. So that's awesome. Since this isn't super dirty, I will go ahead and get the dirtiness, like the first round at least, done in this one. And you can see. And then of course round 1, it's only like that. I keep a little trash bag near me for that. I keep my roll of paper towels always near me, and so forth. And then just a little bit of alcohol ink, or not alcohol ink, you don't want the ink because that would dye your little things, but a little rubbing alcohol. I like to leave them a little wet with the alcohol, let that just air dry, and it's good. This one, being that it had glitter, is going to be a little bit interesting. Glitter's gorgeous, a lot of fun to work with, but as you can see, it is a nightmare to get off of stuff that it gets on. So I'm glad I didn't use a whole ton. That would have been miserable, but it's pretty good. I might do one more just completely fresh, but I won't do that on video. Alright, so this is probably definitely gone 60 seconds or more, which I'm fine with it going more because it was that last layer. So here is our back. Looks pretty good. Feels really solid. You might feel it a little tacky just as it still is curing, maybe a little bit, and so forth. It might be a little tacky. I like to do a dome after I pull it out of the mold, so I'm not super worried, and so forth, about fingerprints, which again, I don't have my gloves on, so forth, because I'm not really worried about it. So, as you can see, there's this side, and so forth, and I think the R looks funky because I already started kind of pushing on it and it's popping out. But it pops out so easy. And here's what we ended up with right here. Beautiful R with the flowers. This is why I don't love that little edge and lip. As you can see, it didn't get enough resin right here. So no worries, we'll be able to fix it. The little edges here, once these harden, usually within about 24 hours, you can just pop those right off. Usually cut them off with a pair of scissors, or I have a little Dremel tool that I use that allows me to Dremel up any pieces. But oh, I love the colors and the way the sparkle on this comes. I hope that it comes through on the video for you, and so forth. So what I would do from here, oh, and I'm going to show y'all, is actually, before I show you this, I'm going to go ahead and slide that under and let it cure for 60 seconds because that bottom side is a little more tacky than the other. So I just want to throw it under there for a little curing before we add a layer on top. So here's my little Dremel tool. Got it off of Amazon. Has 3 speeds. Usually for a small piece like this, 1 is going to be easy. 2's a lot faster. 3's super fast and then off. That's been really handy. I'd say be careful. The dust is nasty. You want to wear your masks and so forth with that, just because it is really gross and you don't want to be breathing in all that fine dust. Alrighty, so we'll let this finish curing up. It's so pretty. And then we'll add a little bit of UV resin to the top of it and let that cure. I'd probably, in 24 hours, I'll probably go ahead and dome the back as well. I'll dome the front and the back. I might add my little key ring first before I do the final domings. And I would do the final domings also once it's cured for over 24 hours. My reasoning for that is because I'm going to want to be able to Dremel it and so forth. So, and yes, I know this ends up filling in that little lip and edge, but like I said, it's fine. I would rather have it filled in and have the sturdiness of this than I would, there's a little bubble there, to have it have that weird gap and then it not be very sturdy. Because I don't know about y'all, like I am so rough with my stuff, especially my keys. Like I just toss them. So it needs to be pretty stout and sturdy. And I feel like when I pop it out, that lip would just come off in an instant. So I like to throw in that extra layer. And this is a side that didn't get it all the way, so I'm just going to pour it over there a little bit. I didn't use any resin on that middle tip, so I used that to slide it just because we did dome. It is going to be running off the edge a little. So I just want to make sure that I don't touch it. And then while that's going, I'm going to clean this cup a little bit more with that glitter. And then, yeah, that's going to be pretty much it. I'll let this sit for 24 hours minimum, sometimes longer, just because that's life for me. And then I'll add the hardware to it, and then probably go ahead and throw a dome on the back and throw a dome on the front again, which, again, only takes a minute for it to cure, and then you're done. So, pretty awesome. I'm going to show you the piece one more time before I sign off. As soon as this finishes curing. I don't like to pull it out sooner than that. You could go the 30 seconds, but I find, like I said, with all the colorants that I've added, it's not wise to do that. It's better to let it go the 60 seconds. So it's hot. Oh, not hot, but it is a little warm. It's a little tacky. I'll probably even, when I sign off here, just go ahead and throw it back under the lamp as I clean up my workspace, put away some of the things I used, and then let it cure for 24 hours. I will put the hardware on this. The hole is a little sealed up, it looks like. That's an easy fix. I say that, and then, yep, there we go. This one I love because it has that little piece that fits perfectly in there. So I will add my ring here and do another dome top. I'll clean up all these edges. Probably try to, this guy has definitely got a gap here. So I will probably add a layer to this side especially. And then I'll dome the back once I also do that. And then once the ring is on, I like to put a little dab of UV resin on my ring and seal that so that the jump ring can't come apart. And then add your keychain and you're ready to roll. So hope y'all enjoyed that. Hope it wasn't too terrible. Thanks for watching. Bye.